We've asked leaders from the West Valley Resort and community to join us today to speak about the project. At the Peoria Chamber, we believe that understanding the opportunities of the proposed West Valley Resort are best explained in a public setting where everyone can ask questions, and those questions can be answered by the leaders who really are responsible for the project and moving it forward. And finally, before I introduce our special guests, I want to extend an important thank you to you for attending our luncheon today, and on behalf of our board of directors. The Peoria Chamber, as you may know, is changing. It's a time for innovation, it's a time for new ideas, and we're growing, which is a fantastic sign given some of the things that we see occasionally from the news media about the business world. So we're enthusiastic to see so many new businesses joining the Chamber, getting involved, having that dialogue with us on ways that we can help them grow and establish their presence in the city of Peoria. And that really brings up a fantastic point, actually, because people often think that if you're not in the city of Peoria, there's no reason to join the Chamber. And I challenge them to say they're totally wrong. We have members in the city of Phoenix, Glendale, Surprise, Avondale, all of the West Valley cities. And we even have some members from the East Valley who want to do business in the West Valley. So if today you're not a member of the Chamber and you think it might benefit your business, talk to us. We have some fantastic new strategies to help you be recognized within the West Valley of the Valley of the Sun. He is truly a champion for the West Valley and the city of Peoria. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bob Barrett.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for showing up. I appreciate the members being here, but those of you who are not members of the Peoria Chamber, I really want to extend a thank you to you for coming out to learn about the West Valley Project. About almost 3 years ago, this process started, and I met with Chairman Norris just prior to a MAG meeting downtown, and he talked about the proposed resort and casino. And at that time, I told him this would be a fantastic thing to have. And people ask me why I support it so much. I understand and recognize that some people have moral issues with gambling, just as people have moral issues with bars. Obviously, I'm not one of them. But I support it mostly because one thing, and that's jobs. They are going to bring in 6,000 construction jobs in the shorter term and 3,000 permanent jobs. Those are estimates. I know people right now, and that's why I support it. It's jobs now. The city of Glendale is opposed to it, and they're saying that in time, they'll build office complex or some other business there, and they'll produce even more jobs than that. Well, Glendale's talking about maybe jobs, someday jobs, possible jobs. I'm talking about jobs now. If they got the okay, I have no doubt that by January 1st, they'd have those giant caterpillars out there pushing dirt around and construction would begin. Those are 6,000 jobs that people need. I know people who are out of work. They are facing foreclosure in their homes. They can't buy the school supplies for their kids, and it's really tough to put food on the table. Those are the people we're fighting for with this. Those are the people who will benefit with this. They also criticize it and say, well, those aren't going to be real high-paying jobs. Well, I remember when Kohl's was opening them up, the line went around jobbing.com arena. I don't remember anybody complaining about the pay scale. I don't remember anybody complaining about the pay scale when Cabela's opened up to the same thing. And I don't remember anybody complaining when McDonald's expanded their workforce. It's jobs. And you can sit around and criticize a minimum wage job all you want, but if you don't have a job, you're not going to do that. That is the key thing. So believe me, this is really important to us. It's important to all of us. And it will be a boon to the West Valley. In the long run, it will bring people out here 360 days, 65 days a year, 7 days a week. It's a 24-hour nonstop system. The Cardinals have 10 games. That's 10 days as opposed to 365. Hockey, 40 plus, I'm not sure how long their preseason is, as opposed to 365. Wouldn't that be a nice compliment if come the Super Bowl, which is in 2015 going to be here, if one of the teams was actually stationed at the resort, right on site. Some of those parties and a lot of those activities that in the last time we had the Super Bowl, ended up migrating out to Scottsdale, come back over here. We need the money. The other thing is people say, well, all you're going to do is just shift the entertainment dollar around. And my reaction to that is, you're darn right, I don't want to do exactly that. There's an estimate that 20 bus loads a day are taken out of the West Valley to the East Valley casinos. Don't you think it'd be beneficial to all of us if that entertainment dollar stayed here in the West Valley? That's where it belongs. So that's kind of my message, and that's my feeling. Other people have asked me, well, how come the council hasn't come out and endorsed it yet? Well, I haven't tried to get the council to endorse it because we don't know how long this is going to take. They're in court. The council can theoretically change every 2 years because every 2 years, 3 council members are up for re-election. I don't want to commit any council now to a future action that they may not agree with whenever it happens and they're finished with all the court issues. So these things are very important, and it really makes a difference to everybody. So, but do we support it? I think yes, the council overall supports it, but I haven't asked. I don't think we need to ask. I mean, who's going to object to jobs? And that is essentially what we're talking about. Thank you. The next speaker is David Jones. He's the president and CEO of the Arizona Contractors Association. Mr. Jones has been with ACA since 1998, bringing 20 years of responsible corporate public administration and management experience to the position. He previously served in the Indiana House of Representatives and was a member of the Indianapolis City Council. He served as vice president of corporate affairs for 2 large general contractors in Indianapolis. So would you please welcome Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Mayor Barrett. Good morning. Now, how many of you are proud to be Americans? Raise your right hand. That's good. How many are proud to be Arizonans? Raise your right hand. Now that I know you're out there, I can see your hands. We'll commence with what I have to say. I wish that I could bring you good news today about our economy and how it affects the construction industry, but I think that you all are all intelligent enough, and I see members out there who are members of our association in the construction industry that know how difficult and how tough the market is. But let me share with you, if I may, that we in the construction industry are the second largest contributor to the state's general fund through our TPT tax. When the economy of construction drops in Arizona, the economy in Arizona is not good. I want to take just a moment to compliment Mayor Barrett. I listened intensely to his testimony in the congressional hearing, the subcommittee on natural resources and Indian affairs, when Congressman Trent brought in his bill. He did an excellent job of responding and clarifying some of the, let's say, distortions that were testified. The city of Peoria should be proud of him. He did a good job. Let's give him an ovation. The Arizona construction industry has lost over 108,000 jobs. Arizona has lost 300,000 jobs. As I previously indicated, our ability to sustain economy in the construction industry is for Arizona to grow. We have built our economy on growth. Those of you who are here from the city councils of various cities and mayors realize that growth is important to your community. The legislators who are here realize that growth is important. We need to manage it, but we can't do it without the people in construction. 51% of America's infrastructure is in need of repair or replacement. 3 years ago, we had a representative from the state come out who was over to speak to our group and was over the dams in the state of Arizona. And unfortunately, the news that he brought was that many of those dams were built in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. If anyone, and I'm talking about the smaller dams, a part of the network, if any of those dams go out, we have major issues. We need to continue to emphasize our infrastructure and what it means. So what does the West Valley resort mean to the construction industry? It means approximately 6,000 construction jobs, 3,400 permanent jobs. That's 6,000 construction-related jobs. This project is the largest project that we see on the drawing boards coming forth. It is essential to the community. It's essential to the construction industry. Folks, I'm getting phone calls every day of ma and pa companies and some medium-sized companies who are members who are closing their doors. We cannot afford to squander this opportunity, and it is in the best interest of not only the construction industry, but in the best interest of the quality of life and the future for our valley. Last week, Brett Jones and I were invited to attend a conference at the Ritz-Carlton. It was sponsored by the Morrison Institute. And from that, there were several speakers, including President Crow of ASU and a number of individuals who are leaders, recognized historic leaders in this community. They have been working on a program called Arizona Directions 2012. This pamphlet was passed out. They were quickly gobbled up. More are coming forth, and I'm going to see that Chairman Norris receives one and that Mayor Barrett receives one. You can go online to Arizona Directions 2012. And what came out of that meeting, we were very much impressed with. It was attended by over 300 individuals, and many of the speakers and many of the data that they based their comments on was actually items that we have, or issues that we in the Arizona Contractors Association have been addressing and echoing for over 8 years. And if I may, I just want to read you a couple of paragraphs out of this, I think, important document and data that sheds light on vision for the future. Under the title Job Creations, jobs, it's the number one issue on everyone's mind and every policymaker's agenda on every candidate's lips, with the official unemployment rate stuck at 9%, perhaps as high as 16%, including those who have given up. Arizonans are increasingly desperate for leadership and action. For youth and young adults, the employment outlook is particularly bad, given a national unemployment rate of 18.1% for that class. Behind these numbers is a grim reality of thousands of Arizonans who are losing their jobs, their homes, and the hopes of a future. Dropping down to the next paragraph, ideology does not generate jobs or prosperity. Clearly, Arizona on both sides of the debate must come together for sober, realistic discussions about job creation in both near and the long-term future. I recommend that you take the opportunity to get your hands on this or go online. I think you will find it rewarding and to the benefit of looking at a new direction and new leadership for the state. So what does a project of this mean? As I indicated to you earlier, we've got 51% of our infrastructure that is in need of repair or replacement. For every month that a project of this magnitude is delayed, those skilled individuals who work in the crafts, their skills become diminished as the work drops off. The average construction worker in America is 47 years old. 5 years ago, when I was discussing what the average age was, 53 years old. The youth of America is not as interested today in coming into construction because they have other options. But we need to continue to support projects of infrastructure and the quality of life, entertainment, and tourism that's the foundation for this economy in the valley. The economic impact of this particular project is vital. As I said earlier, we cannot squander this opportunity. The residual benefits of the project, 3,400 individuals will have the opportunity to work within the resort and work within the casino, to afford to feed their families, to keep their homes, and to look for that better future in life. powerful interests today that have stood in the way of this project have various motivations. I'm not here today to question their motivations. I'm not here today to challenge them on their thinking. I am here to tell you that what I have heard from them has been really distortions of the actual truth of what has taken place. If Trent Franks' bill goes through, I just want to let you know that's a broken promise once again to the Native Americans. I'm currently reading a book that I read several years ago. It's called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. It was written by Dee Brown. It became a Pulitzer Prize-winning book in 1978. And the astonishing thing that when I read this book 15 years ago was that Dee Brown research indicated that out of the 248 treaties and agreements with Native Americans, the American government broke every one of them. If Trent Franks' bill will go through, it would be another broken promise. I believe, and I want to tell you today, that this nation has done a good job of cooperation and communication, offering the transparency of what they're doing, and I'm absolutely convinced they're on the right side and that our judicial system will prove them to be right. They are quality people, they have quality leaders, and this project needs to go forth. You need to communicate to your leaders and to anyone who will listen that this is a worthy project and it's a project that is long overdue. In closing, I would like to share with you, as we're in a society today that seems to polarize all of us. We're in a society today that people want to choose sides. I asked you earlier if you were Americans, you all raised your hand. I asked if you were proud to be Arizonans, you all raised your hand. I didn't ask what party you belonged to or what way of life that you pursued. We're all Americans, we're all Arizonans, and we have to see to it that we accomplish the kind of things that we need to accomplish in projects like this for the West Side. I'll close in sharing with you that a few years ago, a very popular, actually over 35 years ago, a very popular beverage company was looking for a new jingle, and they went to their ad firm and they were trying to kick around something that would be outstanding. So their lead writer got on a plane, flew to London, and tried to get in, couldn't get in, was fogged out, had to go to Shannon, Ireland, and he stayed there, and all the people were complaining about having to stay. Some of them had to double up in rooms. The next morning, he noticed their whole attitude had changed. They were laughing, they were getting along, they had endured this dilemma together. And so when he got to London with the two other representatives from the ad company, they took out their pens and they worked all night, and they wrote what was to become the most popular advertising jingle in American history. They put pen in hand and they said, "I'd like to build the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honeybees and snow white turtle doves. I'd like to see the world for once all standing hand in hand and hear its voices echo peace and joy throughout the land. If such a building is ever built, it will be in communities like Peoria. It will have leaders like Chairman Norris and Mayor Barrett. It will have leaders like the council people who have dedicated their work. I ask each and every one of you to join me and help push this project through for the West Side, and let's make our world a better place." Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you brought up the Franks bill. When the controversy over the casino and West Valley Resort first began, I expressed personal support for it and said that we would be more than happy to support and do what we need to help you out. Then I pretty much step back and step away from the ongoing, I don't know if you want to call it a fight or a discussion with the city of Glendale. I've become more outspoken and more vocal with the advent of the Representative Trent Franks bill for all the reasons that Mr. Jones just expressed. I think this is a system that right now the question is in court. It has gone to, the 9th District, 9th Circuit Court of Appeals, and that is where it's at and where it was going to be decided, but all of a sudden Representative Franks has decided to introduce a bill that would short-circuit the whole system. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. And, so since then, I've been much more outspoken in my advocacy and support for the West Valley Resort and Casino. And speaking of Congress, I was on my way to Flagstaff last week, and we hit that real bad storm, and all the traffic came to a stop. And then this one man came running down the line of cars that were stopped and said, "Oh my God, have you heard the radio?" I said, "No, I didn't have my radio on." He says, "Well," he said, "terrorists have taken over Congress, and they're demanding $100 million, or they're going to douse them in gasoline and set them on fire. Would you donate and help us out?" I said, "What's everybody giving?" He said, "About a gallon." Thank you. The Tohono, Tohono, I want to introduce Chairman Ned Norris. Mr. Norris has served the Tohono O'odham Nation for more than 30 years, whether as Chief Judge of the nation's judicial branch, an Indian Child Welfare Specialist, or Director of Marketing for the tribe's gaming operation. This summer, he was reelected to his second term as Chairman. So I would like for you, please, to welcome Tohono O'odham Nation Chairman Ned Norris, Jr.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share some thoughts with you about this very important project. A lot of my comments are going to be around as the nation's efforts to build relationships, our commitment to moving this project forward, and to sharing with you the unique right that the Tohono O'odham Nation has as it relates to this particular project. And also, I just want to take some time to update you on where things are currently at. When the Tohono O'odham Nation announced the West Valley Resort project, almost 3 years ago, actually January the 28th, 29th of 2009, we made an effort to reach out to local governments. We have made that effort since that time, and we continue to do that today. But not only reaching out to local governments, we're reaching out to local businesses as well, business leaders, community organizations, as well as West Valley residents. This is an approach, this is the direction, this is how we have always moved forward in any economic development project that the Tohono O'odham Nation has developed in our relationships with the Tucson, Southern Arizona community. We have very strong relationships with that community and as well as with the surrounding communities there. And that is the same way that is our intent in moving forward with this project, to develop those relationships, to develop a line of communication, to develop an understanding, to meet with the organizations in the surrounding communities here to answer the questions that you have. We have held, since announcing this project, we have held hundreds of meetings in the West Valley. The feedback we have gotten has helped us to resolve issues and have led to change in the facility design. As you can see from the renderings, it is a very beautiful facility that complements and enhances other facilities in the community. Like any other major project, we will continue to refine these elements so that it meets the best meets the community needs and the community design. The nation is committed, the Tohono O'odham Nation is committed to hiring local workers and local companies, as we have done in the Tucson market. To give a sense on the scale what this would involve, our Southern Arizona facilities utilize the services of hundreds of vendors, most of which are located in the community. The West Valley Resort project is a win-win for the Tohono O'odham Nation, for the region, and for the state. Not only will the construction and operation create thousands of jobs, but it will also generate revenue sharing with that will impact every community in Arizona. We are determined to be a good neighbor and greatly value the positive response and helpful input we have received from the West Valley community as we move forward on this project. We know that opponents will continue their misinformation campaigns as they become more and more desperate. Despite this, the Tohono O'odham Nation remains committed to doing what we have always done, working with the community to move this important project forward. The laws relating to this issue are quite clear, and in our view, indisputable. Captions of the 3 laws that have clearly been provided by the nation can be found on our website, and I'm not sure that we have them here in this room. They might be up on a board somewhere, but I want to talk about those 3 laws. The nation's request to take this project site into trust as a reservation land has been approved by the United States Department of Interior. 8 straight decisions by courts and federal agencies have reaffirmed the nation's right to move forward. Now, this is the point in time in my comments where I get away from my prepared comments. And I know that when I do that, my lawyers and my communications folks start to cringe. But that's okay, because we hire them for a reason. But I want to talk to you from here. I don't necessarily want to talk to you from a piece of paper. But when we go back and we look at the laws that are applicable to this situation, you'll know that the Gila Bend Indian Land Replacement Act, which we commonly refer to as Public Law 99-503, you'll know that that law was passed by the United States Congress in 1986. And that law was passed by the U.S. Congress as a result of the federal government's acknowledgement of totally destroying almost 10,000 acres of reservation land of the Tohono O'odham Nation. Then we were the Papago Tribe of Arizona, and literally forced our tribal members off of almost 10,000 acres to 40 acres where they sit today. The land was totally destroyed as a result of the building of the Painted Rock Dam by the United States government. The government acknowledged their destruction, and the government passed Public Law 99-503. In passing that law, the government gave the Tohono O'odham Nation, along with the San Lucie community, which was formerly known as the Gila Bend Indian Reservation, the authority to replace that land. The government also appropriated $30 million for the nation to be able to do that. And so since the passage of that law in 1986, the nation has been moving forward. As you know, with federal laws, there are certain requirements that we have to meet. A couple of those key requirements are that the land that we purchase has to be within unincorporated land of any one of 3 counties, Maricopa, Pinal, or Pinal County. And primarily because those are the 3 counties where our current Tohono O'odham Nation resides or exists today. So when we think about Public Law 99-503, in our opinion, it is acknowledgement by the United States government that they wronged the Tohono O'odham Nation. They wronged my people. And the government is attempting to correct that wrong by promising us the ability to replace the land they destroyed. If you look at that land today, that land is useless today, 25 years later, after the passage of 99-503. I think it's also important to acknowledge and recognize the sponsors of Public Law 99-503. Then Congressman John McCain, Congressman Mo Udall, Senator Dennis DeConcini, and Senator Barry Goldwater. Their writing and sponsorship of this bill in 1986 and the eventual passage of this bill by the United States Congress promised us, my people, the Tohono O'odham Nation, that we would have the ability to replace that land. 99-503 also acknowledges that in the total destruction of that land and using what abilities that land may have, included the total loss of any economic opportunity for my people. And so 99503 not only acknowledges our replacement of that land for residential and other purposes, agricultural purposes, it also acknowledges our ability to replace that land for economic development purposes. And that's the part of that law that is driving us to move in this direction. 99503 also acknowledges that once the land has been placed into trust, that land is deemed a federal Indian reservation for all intended purposes, including the intended purpose of economic development. So the courts continue to rule in the nation's position. You now have last-ditch efforts by the United States Congress to change a 25-year-old law that was passed by Congress. These attempts would unravel a solemn promise to my nation, could have wide-ranging ramifications on water rights, other land settlements, and other areas, and should not be allowed. There is good news on the legal front. The Ninth Circuit has agreed to expedite hearings hearing the opposition's appeal to the federal district courts ruling in the nation's favor. In other words, when the United States court ruled in favor of the Department of Interior and acknowledged that they do have the authority to move forward and place this land into trust, the opponents have filed an appeal, and that appeal is being processed in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. We had asked for an expedited resolution to those legal filings and legal pleadings and hearings. We were denied the ability to expedite. The Tohono Nation's legal team appealed that denial. And just as recent as last week, the court reversed itself and it granted our expedited request. And so we're hoping that those briefings are going to take place soon so that way we can get this issue resolved once and for all. Because of our dedication to working with the community and following the correct process, we are confident of resolving the remaining litigation. The nation remains committed to bringing this vital economic development project to the West Valley. We know that there is strong support for this project, but we need your help to counter efforts by powerful interests trying to stop this project. Join with us and let your elected officials know that you support positive economic development that will bring jobs to the community. I also wanted to reference the state gaming compact because there's misinformation out there that suggests that to allow the Tohono Nation to move forward with this project will violate the compact that we signed in 2002. The fact of the matter is, the current compact authorizes the Tohono Nation to establish up to 4 Class 3 gaming operations. The Tohono Nation has never had 4 Class 3 gaming operations. We currently have 3. This would be our 4th. So there's no violation of the compact in that regard. There is some suggestion out there in a misinformation campaign that suggests that we would be what's commonly referred to as off-reservation shopping for land to place a casino. And that this project will violate what's referred to as the poison pill clause under the compact. The poison pill clause under the compact authorizes gaming or legalizes gaming in the state of Arizona as long as that gaming is conducted on Indian reservations. The opposition are suggesting that to allow us to do this will invoke that poison pill. The current compact that we have with the state of Arizona authorizes the Tohono Nation to game on after acquired land, that is land acquired after the Indian Gaming and Regulatory Act, as long as that gaming is going to be conducted on that Indian reservation. So once we're through the court litigation and the court reaffirms the Department of Interior's decision to place this land into trust, and in fact places this land into trust, that trust land is deemed an Indian reservation for all intended purposes, including economic development. So to suggest that the poison pill clause would be invoked is a wrong misinformation campaign that is being fueled by the opposition, and they want folks to believe that. There is also a clause in the Indian Gaming and Regulatory Act that authorizes gaming on Indian reservations acquired after the passage of the Indian Gaming and Regulatory Act, as long as that acquisition is the result of a land settlement. This is the one issue that is still in the court system. But that exception under the Indian Gaming and Regulatory Act is the exception that says that the land has to be acquired as a result of a land settlement. There's no question in our mind that the Gila Bend Indian Land Replacement Act is settlement of 10,000 acres of land that the United States government acknowledged they totally destroyed. So they settled with us and said, here, you can go ahead and replace that land. So I stand before you today and let you know there will be no violation of our compact. There will be no violation of Indian Gaming and Regulatory Act. And there will be no violation of Public Law 99503. Last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about H.R. 2938, commonly referred to as the Trent Franks Bill. The opposition suggests that we're violating the law, we're violating the compact, we're violating the Indian Gaming and Regulatory Act, we're violating Public Law 99503. I stand before you and ask, if we're violating the law, why is the opposition now moving to change the law that we're supposedly violating? That's exactly what they're attempting to do. This bill would change Public Law 99503 in its original filing, and I have to raise some concerns about how much movement H.R. 2938 has gotten in unprecedented time frames. The bill gets filed on September the 15th. It's unprecedented that a subcommittee of the Congressional Committee would have a hearing on that bill 15 days later, October the 4th. The Subcommittee on Alaska and Native American Affairs had a hearing on that bill. It's unprecedented that the House Resources Committee, specifically on this bill, would have a second hearing on that bill, which they held a couple of weeks ago. What's really driving and motivating this bill? I wonder. I question in my mind what's really driving it. Especially when you think about the fact that what this bill does is really protect market share of a certain select group of people. When this bill, H.R. 2938, was filed, it was filed with the intent to disallow the Tohono Nation from gaming on any land acquired under Public Law 99503. At the hearing a couple of weeks ago before the House Resources Committee, there was an amendment offered by one of the state House of Representatives from Arizona that literally drew a red line from one end of the county to the other end, east and west, and offered an amendment that said Tohono Nation can game on land acquired under Public Law 99503 as long as they don't game on land acquired north of that red line. That stinks. Gone are the days I thought that people were going to be segregated. Gone are the days I thought that blacks were allowed to ride buses, but you can only ride the bus if you're in the back of the bus. Gone are those days when you were allowed this drinking fountain to drink from if you weren't a certain race. I find that amendment discriminatory. And it's discrimination against my people. But it's discriminatory for what reason? To protect the market share of a very few. I thought this was the United States of America. Land of the free. Free enterprise. Opportunity to be self-sufficient. That is where we want to go. That is what we want to be able to do. And so I share these thoughts with you. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to be here before you and to comment and to let you know where I'm at, where my heart is at. The Tohono Nation is protecting its right. Its right guaranteed by the voters of this state under the current compact of the state. Protect our right guaranteed to us by the United States Congress. And there are some folks that want to take that right away from us. So thank you again. Thank you to the Peoria Chamber of Commerce. Thank you to our esteemed panel members and all of the dignitaries that have joined us today and supported us throughout this process. I look forward, we look forward, the Tohono Nation looks forward to a long and positive working relationship. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Before we go to questions, I just want to make one quick comment. The chairman talked about a lot of the misleading information that's been put out there. One of the things that popped up at the hearing in Congress, which if you ever get a chance to appear before a subcommittee, give it a shot. It's pretty neat. But one of the things that popped up was that somehow the nation had been sneaky in terms of buying the property, using a straw man, somebody else to do it. And it's not an unusual business practice if you're considered to be deep pockets. You buy it under a sort of a false flag, so to speak, so that the property owner doesn't realize that you have deep pockets and they run up the price. And there was a gentleman on the panel, Representative McClintock, and he's from California, and he pointed out at the time, even though Mr. Franks kept harping on that, Mr. McClintock pointed out at the time that that's how Walt Disney accumulated all his property for Disneyland. So if you guys are sneaky, you're in good company with Walt.
Thank you very much to our panel. We have some questions, and there's some great questions. We have a little bit of time left to take a few. The first one is regarding tax dollars that will be generated on the site, and will they be paid to the city of Glendale? I'm asking the questions.
You know, it's really a misunderstanding or misinformation campaign that Indian tribal people don't pay taxes. We do, in fact, pay taxes. Not only do we pay federal taxes, we also pay state taxes. There is millions of dollars of goods and services that is needed in order to operate what will eventually be this multi-million-dollar business. There are services that are going to be needed. There are taxes that are applied. And so maybe the next question is, well, what is the estimated tax? And I don't know. I can't, Mr. Jones has my back here. Okay. I'm looking at our publicity handout. Millions and generate $45 million in tax revenue each year. So I think it's a misunderstanding about this whole tax issue, because tribes do pay taxes, tribal members pay taxes, we pay federal taxes, And I think that to suggest that we won't pay taxes, we don't pay taxes. In fact, when we think about infrastructure, we think about the need for, people have suggested that this project is going to cost dollars to the city for police protection, for fire protection, for emergency protection. Those are the kinds of intergovernmental agreements that the nation has established with surrounding communities in our current operation out of Tucson. The nation intends to pay its fair share for whatever services we need to contract for through an intergovernmental agreement, whatever that service may be. And to suggest that that the city, any city that's providing that service is going to go in debt to us by providing that service is really a lot of misinformation, because those are costs that we negotiate with that jurisdiction for that particular service. So thank you for the question.
I would just like to follow up by saying we look at projects throughout the state, and quite often today what we may be seeing in regards to economic development throughout the state, it's what is called public-private partnerships, where the private sector agrees to come in and do financing along with the public sector, and they work out an agreement that they can build an infrastructure project. This project will have no tax dollars involved in the construction of it. That's a rare opportunity. No tax dollars. The nation will fund the project, the nation will operate the project, the nation will do it on their dime. They're not asking anything from the local government other than cooperation and a spirit of harmony.
You've actually answered the next question, which was about local services, police, fire protection, so thank you. When hiring employees after the resort is built, will there be a percentage of the employees to be of Native American descent, or are you hiring from the Arizona population at large?
Hello? Okay. The Tohono Nation has a Native American preference in hiring policy. Obviously, we cannot circumvent that mandate from our legislative body. But I can tell you that our experience has been, I think we have some 1,500 employees in our current operations. Trina, am I about there? 1,500 employees. I would guess that probably 70% are non-native. And I would expect that that's probably going to be a similar situation here, because we don't have the tribal member population that is going to be able to fill the necessary jobs. So I would say that the majority of our employees are not necessarily going to be Tohono members, although the opportunity for employment of members is going to be made available. But there's no set percentage.
And this next question, I'm not sure that you'll be able to answer here today. Opportunities for the public to hear from Trent Franks and the speakers for a discussion at one time. And I think what this person is really getting to is, can we have some sort of public discussion with everyone in the same room?
So we want to create a lion's den, maybe. Huh? Let me see. Well, let me just say this. I can't speak for the other folks, but just to let you know, I would be more than willing to have dialogue in an audience like this with anyone that's willing to have that dialogue with us. If Congressman Franks is willing to do that, then I'm willing to do that as well. The Tohono Nation has nothing to hide. We have nothing, if you go back and you look at the history of this project, the nation is definitely comfortable with the legal authority that we have to move forward on this project. And the courts have been ruling in that favor, in that regard. And so we're comfortable with where we're at. And so in answer to the question, I'd be more than willing to do that. So bring it on.
You heard it here.
I would just follow up by saying, as a former elected official, that the object of when you look at someone who brings you proposed legislation is who wants it, why do they want it, and what's the unintended consequences. You try to have the dialogue with the affected, what we call stakeholders, prior to submitting the bill. And as was brought out earlier by Mayor Barrett, this bill is going at a rapid pace, faster than anything I've seen come through in a long time in Washington. But I know that there's always room for dialogue, and I think the dialogue should have occurred prior to submitting a bill, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. And as a former newspaper reporter and editor, I'd say the big question is who benefits? And I'd be happy to participate.
Excellent. Gentlemen, we're out of time for questions and answers. We appreciate your time today, and thank you very much for spending the time to discuss this project with us. Could we have a round of applause for our panel? Thank you.